Tonight, several developing stories as we come on. Inside the rescue mission, the daring and deadly efforts to free 4 hostages, including an American. 3 of them tourists on safari, speaking out for the first time, saying they were, quote, freed from hell. French commandos launching the raid, losing 2 of their own. New details about the American hostage, including that she wants to remain anonymous. Also tonight, the American Airlines pilot arrested in a triple murder cold case, taken into custody at the airport, accused of shooting, killing, and burning his victims, the possible motive, and what he said in an interview just after the killings. The massive chemical spill, hundreds of thousands of gallons leaking from this damaged barge, the collision that set this off and shut down a major ship channel. State of emergency, the flooding disaster, a freight train derailing in Mississippi after a half a foot of rainfall, millions bracing for more flash flooding, strong winds, and the Mother's Day washout looming. Plus, high-speed shootout, that wild police chase, a suspect firing at police from their vehicle. The new details coming in about the intense standoff with a murder suspect. And fire in the sky. The unidentified flying object spotted high over this American city. Did you catch it? What we're learning tonight.
From ABC News, this is ABC World News Tonight.
And good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. I'm Tom Yamas. And we begin tonight with the daring and deadly hostage rescue overseas. For the first time, we're seeing and hearing from the victims emerging from the African country of Burkina Faso, describing their captivity as, quote, hell. And the surprise development, the American also rescued, not seen here, choosing to remain anonymous. The others rescued meeting today with French President Emmanuel Macron, all praising the French commandos, 2 of whom lost their lives to save the hostages. And many questions tonight about that American missing for nearly a month and how her capture apparently went unnoticed. ABC's Ariel Reshef starting us off tonight.
Tonight, growing questions about the American found among the hostages freed in that covert rescue mission in the West African country of Burkina Faso. Sources telling ABC News the woman is choosing to remain anonymous. The U.S. State Department saying it was unaware she had even vanished, and it's unclear why she was in the region. The woman in her 60s held captive for nearly a month, discovered along with 2 French nationals and a South Korean woman in that daring raid by 20 French commandos.
The kidnappers were moving the hostages across the desert in very, very remote areas. They came upon the encampment and then stormed the tent where the hostages were being held.
2 elite French soldiers killed in the operation. The 2 French hostages kidnapped from the Pendjari National Park in Benin, a popular destination for safaris. Today, 3 of those captured, meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron, expressing gratitude for the sacrifice to save them. One of them saying, all of our thoughts are for the families of the soldiers that lost their lives to free us from this hell.
Le ministère des Affaires étrangères diffuse régulièrement.
But French officials indirectly chastising the tourists, urging French travelers not to be so reckless. The area under a French travel advisory warning of a resurgence in Islamic extremism. Still, no group claiming responsibility. On the heels of the incident, the U.S. State Department now issuing its own urgent advisory for the park, warning tourists extremist groups have carried out attacks, adding that attacks may occur with little or no warning.
And Ariel Reshef joins us now live on set. And Ariel, sources are telling us that the French commandos were essentially told they had to go in because of intelligence they were getting, and still so little known about the American.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. Security forces tracked those kidnappers to the border with Mali, and they were worried that they could transfer these hostages to jihadists there, making any future rescue operation nearly impossible. As you mentioned, few details about that American. We know she is in her 60s and is safe tonight.
All right, good. She's safe. Ariel, thanks so much. Now to the breaking developments in that triple murder cold case. An American Airlines pilot arrested today at the airport, accused of those grisly crimes. The company putting pilot Christian Martin, you see him there, on administrative suspension after he was indicted on 3 counts of murder plus arson and burglary. ABC's Diane Maceda with the details just coming in.
Tonight, a suspect is under arrest in a brutal triple homicide that's haunted a Kentucky community for years.
Today, we can announce an indictment of Christian Richard Martin for 3 counts of murder.
Martin, a pilot for PSA Airlines, a subsidiary of American Airlines, was arrested early this morning at the Louisville airport, booked in his uniform for the murders of his former neighbors. In November 2015, investigators discovered the body of Pamela Phillips and her neighbor, Ed DeCenero, in a car in this cornfield.
The vehicle was so badly burnt that it was difficult for us to identify specifics as far as numbers.
That car led them to the Phillips home a few miles away. Inside, Calvin Phillips was shot dead. The Attorney General is now crediting the son of 2 of the victims, Matt Phillips, for keeping the case alive.
He was worried that the case was stalled and was worried that justice would not come.
Martin, a former Army major, was court-martialed in connection with allegations of sexual misconduct and found guilty of the lesser charge of mishandling classified information in 2016. He spoke with station WSMV at the time about his connection with the murder victims, saying Calvin Phillips had been scheduled to testify in the case.
I don't know why anybody would want to do something to them.
Now he's facing multiple charges, including 3 counts of murder.
And Diane Macedo joins us now live. Diane, the Attorney General calling this indictment a first step. What are the families saying tonight?
Tom, the families of the victims have issued a statement saying they look forward to seeing justice in court. Meanwhile, Martin is now in Christian County, but still no word on when those court proceedings are set to begin. Tom?
Diane Macedo for us tonight. Diane, thank you. We turn now to that other major story we're following out of Texas, a major chemical spill in Houston's Ship Channel. A collision damaging that barge carrying 25,000 barrels of gas chemicals, at least a third of those pollutants, hundreds of thousands of gallons, streaming into the channel. The smell of petrochemical very strong there. What officials are now saying about the air and water quality and why the cleanup is stalling tonight. ABC's Zachary Keish is on the scene.
Tonight, a massive cleanup and recovery after a toxic spill in the Houston Ship Channel. A 755-foot tanker colliding with a barge.
There it is right there.
5,000 gallons of gasoline product spilling in the water. That barge, one of 2 being pushed by a tug. The other capsizing, but according to officials, it's not leaking. You can see a film of that gasoline product on top of the water. It's called reformate, described as flammable, toxic, and colorless.
We need to know what the dangers are in the water. If there's gas, we can't come in here.
Some in the area complaining of fumes. Officials say hundreds of air quality samples have been taken, and so far, none of the results have exceeded action levels.
The Coast Guard will do a full investigation to determine the cause. Right now, our focus is on the response and ensure that we clean up the product and minimize any impact to the environment.
And Zachary Keish joins us now from LaPorte, Texas. Zachary, we just heard there in your story, the main focus is going to be the cleanup, but we know the weather has been really bad there all day, and this is now complicating that effort?
Tom, they haven't been able to continue the cleanup process because of this off and on thunder and lightning throughout the day. It's had a real impact. Now, they say that's prevented them from being able to get on the water and do what they need to do. Tom?
Zachary, thank you. And that severe weather in the south resulting in a state of emergency in Louisiana. Take a look at that freight train right there. 28 cars derailing in Mississippi after more than a half a foot of rainfall. Drenching rain straining motorists in Houston over the last few days. The ground extremely saturated and more rain on the way. Rivers swollen beyond their banks. Flash flood watches from Texas through Mississippi. ABC senior meteorologist Rob Marciano here with more.
Tonight, parts of the Gulf Coast saturated and bracing for more rain. In southern Mississippi, more than 24 cars of this freight train derailing after more than a half a foot of rain fell overnight in the area. Pearl River County officials warning that flooding is making some roads impassable, urging residents to limit their travel. Severe weather across the region packing dangerous lightning all week. A home security camera capturing lightning striking a tree outside this Houston home. More than 100,000 customers in the area without power during the height of the storm. In Louisiana, the governor declaring a state of emergency amid relentless rounds of storms. West of New Orleans, the Mississippi River rising above flood stage. To relieve stress on the city's levees, the Army Corps of Engineers opening this spillway for an unprecedented second time this year.
And we are still keeping a close eye on all of that water. Rob Marciano joining us now with the forecast. And Rob, we see there's still a lot of rain there.
Yeah, right over that spillway, Tom. High risk for flooding now across parts of Baton Rouge. They've already received 4 times the normal amount of rain for May. Houston, you're starting to see the dry air move in, but this wave is going to bring that rain well up into the northeast. We're already starting to see storms in D.C., and the rain will be here by tomorrow morning, engulfing really much of the northeast throughout the day. And a severe weather threat for the Carolinas and Georgia and parts of Alabama as well during the afternoon. The entire East Coast, Tom, not a very pleasant Mother's Day.
Okay, we'll stay tracking this through the weekend. Rob, thank you. Next to politics and the new details coming to light about former White House counsel Don McGahn's refusal to publicly say he believed President Trump did not obstruct justice. McGahn, a key source in the Mueller report, refusing 2 requests from the White House on that matter. ABC's Kira Phillips has more.
He's one of the key figures in Robert Mueller's report. And tonight, ABC News confirming President Trump wanted his former White House counsel, Don McGahn, to publicly say he did not believe the president obstructed justice. The White House asked McGahn to speak out on 2 separate occasions, once before and once after the report's release. McGahn refused. His attorney saying in a statement, the ask wasn't a threat. Rather, it was a request, professionally and cordially made. The news comes as the administration instructed McGahn not to cooperate with congressional investigators after a subpoena was issued for his records. The president's first White House counsel and a copious note-taker, McGahn was cited 157 times in the Mueller report. He recounted the president asked him to have Mueller fired on multiple occasions. McGahn says he refused and refused to lie about those conversations later. At the time, the president said he hadn't thought about firing the special counsel.
Mr. President, have you thought about or considered leading the dismissal of the special counsel?
I haven't given it any thought.
And he fired back after the report went public.
I never told Don. If I wanted to fire Mueller, I would have done it myself. It's very simple. I had the right to. And frankly, whether I did or he did, we had the absolute right to fire Mueller.
Kira Phillips joins us now from the White House. And Kira, we know that House Democrats want Robert Mueller to testify. They now want Don McGahn to testify as well. Will we see the former White House counsel before Congress anytime soon?
Well, Tom, there's definitely a deadline. House Democrats would like to see McGahn appear before Congress by May 21st. But so far, the White House telling him not to meet any demands. If McGahn doesn't show up, well, Democrats are threatening to hold the former White House counsel in contempt. So it's another drawn-out battle ahead, Tom.
Kira Phillips outside a rainy White House for us tonight. Kira, thank you. Now to the change in travel plans for the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani. Following major backlash, Giuliani backtracking on plans to go to the Ukraine. Here's ABC's Lana Zach.
The president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, doing a complete 180, reversing course on his planned trip to Ukraine to advocate for foreign investigations that include looking into Democratic frontrunner Joe Biden.
I'm not going to go because I think I'm walking into a group of people that are enemies of the president, in some cases enemies of the United States.
Initially, Giuliani said he was trying to convince the new Ukrainian president to investigate claims against Biden that as vice president, he advocated for removing a government official who had reportedly looked into corruption at a company where Biden's younger son, Hunter, worked. The Biden campaign claims there was no wrongdoing, and Democrats pounced, accusing Giuliani of trying to leverage a foreign government to affect the upcoming elections.
It's an investigation designed to affect one of the candidates they fear the most, Joe Biden, and I think it's reprehensible.
It is highly unethical. Rudy Giuliani should just back off.
The Trump campaign distancing themselves from Giuliani's efforts, telling ABC he's a private citizen. And now Giuliani says he was never trying to influence the 2020 presidential election.
And if I wanted to meddle in that election, which I don't, I could have held this for a year and dropped it right before the convention.
In an interview with Politico, President Trump was asked if he would direct Attorney General William Barr to investigate Biden. The president saying, certainly it would be an appropriate thing to speak to him about, but I have not done that as of yet. It could be a very big situation.
And Tom, we're still trying to figure out exactly how much President Trump might have been involved in these travel plans. We haven't gotten comment yet from the White House, and President Trump has been on Twitter tweeting and retweeting today, but not a single word about the Ukraine. Tom?
Lana Zach for us tonight. Lana, thank you. And this programming note, more on all of this tomorrow morning on This Week when George goes one-on-one with House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff. And there's much more ahead on World News Tonight this Saturday. Chilling new allegations. The desperate search continues for a missing 4-year-old girl. The arrest that just happened involving the last person to allegedly see her. High-speed shootout, the wild police chase, a suspect firing at police, and what we're learning tonight about the tense standoff with a murder suspect. And fire in the sky. Take a look. The mysterious blaze flashing through space at midnight. Did you catch it? Stay with us. Back now with that high-speed shootout in California, the wild police chase, and new details tonight about that suspect. Here's ABC's Marcy Gonzalez.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, he was shooting his gun! Bullets flying along busy Los Angeles streets as this accused killer being chased by police opens fire from the passenger seat, aiming at officers.
The moment he got next to us, he pulled out the gun and he started shooting, and it was really insane.
The LAPD boxing the car in, shooting back, smashing the car windows, hitting both people inside. A bystander also grazed by a bullet in the shootout. The bloodied driver finally surrendering. Police believe the passenger, laying motionless, is the same man seen in this surveillance video, accused of killing a liquor store owner during a robbery attempt this week. Finally tracked down, leading police on this chase.
Our follow-up was based on the work of our detectives along with some tips that we received from the public.
After a 45-minute standoff, authorities using flashbang grenades, sending in a canine, finally wheeling the suspect away on a stretcher. Tonight, he's in a hospital in critical condition. The driver has been treated and released. She's expected to be arraigned in the next few days. Tom.
Marcy, thank you. And when we come back, the consumer alert tonight, the danger that may be hiding in your home, the recall involving a piece of furniture, and the massive water spout. Take a look at this, barreling straight towards port, swallowing boats in its path. Stay with us. Time now for our index and breaking news in that desperate search for a missing 4-year-old girl in Houston. The last person allegedly to see Malia Davis now charged with evidence tampering. First identified as her stepfather, but now being called the mother's ex-fiancé. He had said 3 men ambushed him and abducted Malia, but police who interview him say he kept changing his story. Tonight, Malia still has not been found. She has been missing for a week. The consumer safety alert tonight, danger that may be hiding in your own home. More than 300,000 dressers being recalled after one tipped over, crushing and killing a 2-year-old child. The heavy Libra brand chests are unstable if they're not anchored to the wall. Multiple models on the list sold online at Walmart, Amazon, and Target between October of 2009 and July of 2018. Check your receipts to make sure your family stays safe. Overseas, the massive water spout swirling off the southern coast of Singapore. That churning vortex of water barreling towards shore, dwarfing nearby high-rise buildings. You can see it right there, pounding right into a passing boat and looming right over the historic business district for nearly 20 minutes. And back here at home, the fire in the sky. A meteor streaking through the atmosphere, blazing bright above the suburbs of Chicago, caught on several doorbell cameras. One police sergeant even getting it on his squad car dash cam. That deep space fireball flashing into view just before midnight. And when we come back, America Strong, just days after a deadly campus shooting, students standing strong and walking proud. We'll take you there. Finally tonight, just days after a former student opened fire, fellow students standing together today and walking proud. It's America Strong. At the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, cheers and tears on this graduation day.
You got it, Emily.
Crossing that stage,
You got it, Emily.
Emily Haupt. She was injured in the deadly campus shooting on the last day of the semester. Just 10 days ago in her anthropology class, a former student came in, sat down for 10 minutes, got up, and opened fire.
We have multiple victims in here. We're going to need multiple ambulances.
2 were killed in the shooting, 19-year-old Ellis Reed Parlier and 21-year-old Riley Howell, a junior ROTC student who charged the gunman. He was hit 3 times, but kept going.
We talk about heroism. The first and foremost hero, as far as I'm concerned, and his name is Riley Howell.
Riley granted a funeral with full military honors in his hometown. The Howell family say that act of courage was not surprising to them.
Lots of pride in him. It never stops being proud.
And tonight, the Howell family was right there at graduation, invited on stage to receive his bachelor's degree.
It's my honor to convey to Riley's family the Bachelor of Arts degree in memoriam to Riley Howell.
And one more honor to the two fallen students. The school announcing that 2 new scholarships totaling $1 million have been created in their names. Our thoughts with all those graduating seniors and their families. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Yamas in New York, GMA, and This Week in the Morning. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a good evening.
Doctors, potatoes. Ismail, David.
For ground zero from Hurricane Michael.
You can see just home after home. David, good to meet you. This was your view. My favorite view. These guys appreciate it.